Hi guys, I'm Liam Brusby and I'm the host of Three Leagues Divided. If you enjoy this interview, then why don't you follow our social media at Three Leagues Divided? That's the number, not the word, to stay updated for new episodes. For now, enjoy my chat with Roberto Rojas. Today on the Three Leagues Divided podcast, we are joined by Roberto Rojas. Roberto, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I'm Roberto Rojas, as you had just said. I am a reporter for, multimedia journalist doing social and digital for beIN Sports USA, but also, I guess talking about other stuff, not just in general, be it United States soccer, Paraguayan football, South American football, and just in general, all things football, as you guys say over there in England. So yeah, super happy to be on.
Oh, thank you very much for taking the time out as well. So I just want to start off. It's been an incredibly crazy year for you. You've become sort of a little local hero where we are. Just sort of describe yourself, how this has all sort of come around for you and how you really feel about it.
Well, I mean, as you said, it has been a crazy year, and I think for me, it's been going by so fast, honestly. I would have never imagined it in my wildest dreams that in my senior year of college, university, that I would end up going to another continent to earn kind of the respect and a lot of a following of a big club like Newcastle United, and to do that in a span of a year has been insane. I think from a logistical and a professional standpoint, I think it's the best year of my life. I mean, going to England, having that kind of fan base, going to working at beIN Sports where I got hired also, going to the Copa America in Brazil, and doing so many other things. It's been a fascinating year for me. And in the end, it's just, I think for myself, I think when we get mature and, being at 22 years old, I think we always want to be humble and always never forget your roots or where you're coming from, and just be that kind of person, and don't let that kind of popularity set you up to become, better than whoever you want. Because I don't personally think like that. I think we all have our own standards. We all have our own way of projecting ourselves to the world. And for me, it's just doing what I love. And that's, the game of football. And when it comes to journalism as well, that's something I'm very passionate. So mixing those two worlds has worked out in the end, I think.
You sort of mentioned how you visited Newcastle. I want to take you back there now. I followed you a lot on social media when you actually came here, and it was actually quite funny to see because you were discovering all the new things. You were discovering Greggs and Wetherspoons. Obviously, you went to the Newcastle game as well. How did that all feel? And do you have any more plans to maybe come back one day?
Well, in terms of the good thing about going to a country like England, firstly, this was actually my second time in England. It wasn't my first. I had went to London this is the year before for like 5-6 hours. I was on vacation in Paris, so I decided to take the train from Paris to London and was there for a good day, I would say. And even then, it looked so good. It really is a different atmosphere. Now, obviously, I think that goes for anyone that gets out of their own country and you go to a different one where there's a lot of similarities to it, but there's a lot of differences, and you breathe. I guess I could say you breathe different air. You breathe in the atmosphere. You breathe in the surroundings in that kind of sense. So it was fascinating for me to go when I went to Newcastle during the Easter weekend, and then the game obviously against Southampton. It was just great. You look at the city in itself. It really is what people have always said it is. Wonderful people, welcoming people, very kind people. There was so much to do. I think from a day and night perspective, obviously the football is second to none when it comes to the passion that these fans have. It's a completely a different case when you compare it to the United States. I think it's really demonstrative of how, and then for me as well, I come from a city that is also on a coastline in Connecticut. And with Newcastle as well, being that kind of coastal city, very passionate about where they come from and that kind of stuff, it reminds me of home in a way. So I feel as if though there is that big of a connection. Obviously, going to a different country gives you that, but it gives you a different perspective. It allows you to learn things, and that, and even going to national landmarks like Greggs and Wetherspoons. That's always been that was a learning experience in itself. So yeah, it was a great time. And in terms of returning, I would love to. I think now, given the fact that I think I've reached a bond with the city the people from there, the fans of Newcastle United. I think it would be very wise of me to go back in the nearby future. I think it would be great. I think the city really had an attachment to it. And personally, it just feels good. I mean, you don't want to be in a place where you don't feel as if though you're not going to do anything. But over there, it was second to none. I really had a great time there, honestly.
Yeah, you mentioned how you sort of experienced the things in day and night. Did you enjoy the nightlife as well? Did you go out to the clubs in Newcastle?
I did go to the clubs.
Which ones did you go to?
I don't know. I don't recall it. I think it was in Jesmond, if I remember. Yeah, if I recall, I think that was where it was at. But it was nice. It was really cool. I think, obviously, from the United States standpoint, it's different because, one, the alcohol age here is 21, over there is 18, or even in some cases much younger. So, yeah, it's a different culture. It's a different experience. I mean, as someone who's always been, involved in the nightlife and really, at an age, I mean, you're 21 at the time, so you really want to go and experience the best that there is in the city. It was nice. It was cool. It was refreshing to be able to see how the nightlife is, to have a good time is seen in different countries. And for me, it was nice. It was really cool. And yeah, I can't complain. I think the Geordies know how to party. That's for sure. That's all I can say.
Well, I mean, from nightlife to football, sort of two big things in Newcastle, as you know. Let's talk about Miguel Almirón, because the main reason that we really know you is because of Miguel Almirón. The way that you covered the transfer record move from Atlanta to Newcastle, this was huge for us getting to know you, really. And seeing him play so well now for Newcastle, how does that make you feel, knowing that you were sort of a big part of his move, you could say?
Well, firstly, I mean, I just do the work that I like to do to promote the player. Everything that he's doing on the pitch is credit to him. I have nothing. I have no say in that. The goals that he scored, the assists, the way that he's earned that kind of love from the fans over there. I think that's all credit to him. I have no opinion in that sense or like place in that for him getting that kind of support. But no, I think for me it was impressive because obviously being a Paraguayan American here, and when he first came to Atlanta United, I mean, I saw myself and think to myself, this is a good opportunity for me to be able to promote the player as good as I can, because I was going to do that to numerous players that are already playing in the league or elsewhere as well, being it's my country and, it's the players of the team and the national team that I support and where my family's from. So I wanted to exploit that in a way and do it and promote it as best as I can. And then once these rumors started coming into from Newcastle, there were a lot of fans who, respectfully so, they don't watch MLS, they may have a negative perspective, or they just don't have the time to do it and just rely on highlights on YouTube or something. So I just wanted to do my best, among many other colleagues, of course, that have covered Atlanta United and Almirón's career. They're there to do what they need to do and be able to inform people, and that's what I did. And I think that's when this deal did eventually happen, it was really refreshing and really satisfying to see so many people, very, very happy at what I've done. And, and in the end, I'm just doing my job. I mean, to inform is good, and to be, in a way, self-critical. You got to be, you can't be biased like some people are about this player, just because the team had a bad game, but this player did good. And, it's not like that. You try to be supportive, but also at times you have to realize that, if there is that kind of criticism that is needed, you have to give it to them. And sometimes that was the case. And during his career there, when he went the numerous amount of games without scoring a goal, people started to go against him. Obviously, that was a little bit of a minority, because now what we've seen now is the credit of the hard work that he gives in, playing hard. And that was something that I asked the Newcastle fans when they first signed him. The big question I had, and that was always in my mind. I mean, yeah, you could score, you can assist and do all that. I think that's how you see yourself as a good player in the club as a whole, rather than just playing in the Premier League. I asked him, said, how does he become a success in Newcastle United? And, obviously you get the scoring, the assists, that kind of stuff, be creative. But, the one thing that I think a lot of people said, which is provide hard work, just be hardworking, provide 100%, sweat for the shirt, as people say. I mean, that kind of stuff, just work hard, do your stuff, don't put your head down, don't complain, that kind of stuff. And, we saw that even during the case when he didn't score. And now when we are seeing him score and picking up form, picking up momentum, that kind of thing, I think it's just the return of the hard work he's getting, and it's rightly deserved, and it makes me happy. It really does make me happy, seeing, we haven't had a lot of Paraguayans playing in the Premier League as a whole. I mean, the last big one that we had was Roque Santa Cruz when he played at Blackburn and in Manchester City. But that was almost 10 years ago. So when we see a young Paraguayan, especially coming from MLS, to arguably the best league in the world, most competitive league in the world, I think the satisfaction of, one, seeing a Paraguayan play over there in the Premier League is very happy for me, but also to see that kind of player coming from MLS, a league that I'm 22, and the league started a year before I was born, and seeing all the creation and all the popularity and the build-up that it's made from a world's perspective to be respected, to see something like that happen and provide all that in a good combo, it makes me happy. It really does. And I hope that heading into this new year, and that he continues his form. And what I really want more is for him to influence the next Paraguayan players, not the ones that are already in MLS, but maybe the ones that are going to go into that region and find the next Almirón or the next Paraguayan star and see them more in the Premier League, because I think that's what's needed. I think that exposure is exactly, obviously playing well is good, but if you have that exposure and you're seeing it where we're in a game where the sport is more globalized and people can watch the game better than ever in decades past, it's well deserved and well needed. So yeah, it really makes me proud to see him do so well at Newcastle United so far.
Almirón, honestly, he's already had quite a bit of an impact on sort of players coming from the MLS already. Newcastle especially, they've been linked with another Atlanta player, Joseph Martinez. He said that he'd be willing to come as well, so maybe that's something that could happen in the January transfer window. Now let's talk a bit more about Newcastle United. Obviously you came to visit about a year ago now. A lot has changed. Obviously we've had a new manager come in, or a new head coach, sorry. We've had a lot of rumours of a takeover, a complete new attacking lineup. How do you think it all compares to the way you first saw it last year compared to now?
Well, I think here in the United States, and obviously, I'm a big fan of the Premier League. I'm not going to say that, I'm ignorant in that sense and that you only know the big clubs, but, I knew about Newcastle. Obviously, they were known as a big club here in the States. They had a bunch of Americans. Under Yedlin was the big one. And you see them perennially. I always see them on TV playing against the big guys. And so you know them. You have that kind of reputation. The Mike Ashley thing, that was obviously one that was known here for the reputation that he has. But other than that, for me, I would like, it's good to learn. It's good to learn. It's good to find out why this team is the way it is now. And then when this transfer happened, and then all the preceding months that happened afterwards, even going there, you learn about the club, and you learn about how a team that obviously is very historic in a way. The fact that, it's a team comparable to where you compare it to other teams across England, your Manchesters, the teams in Liverpool, London, you have so many fans, so many teams from those cities, whereas for Newcastle, they're the top dog there. They're the only ones that support them. And so that was just impressive to see that so many people, regardless of how you feel about the way the club should be run, or, the players that you get, or the coach or something like that. It's a team that, for its fans, they really side with them, especially when things go good. And, I think the best thing that I was able to see is, going to that game against Southampton when Jose Perez scored a hat-trick. And seeing it full, I remember one journalist, I don't know who it was, but one of the journalists that I was speaking to, he told me this is as good as it gets. And, see that, to be at St. James's Park, and about one of the historic stadiums all across England, and to see so many people, starting from the way they pregame and they drink before going and walking to the stadium, and then the singing, and then afterwards, especially when they win, how it's bouncing, when it's happy, it shows that it's passionate for the sport and for its club. So yeah, I think the perception for me and the way that I've learned about it over the last year, makes me more able to realize why the club is so special to these fans.
Now, I mentioned that we brought in a new head coach, Steve Bruce. Obviously, you couldn't say it's an improvement from Rafa Benitez. What do you think of him so far in the 6 months that he's been here?
Well, I mean, initially, I think, like a lot of us, it really was a downgrade, you would say, from Rafa Benitez, because many people were so hopeful that, following what we saw at the end, when Almirón first came in, Newcastle were still in a relegation race, really. And then he comes in, and even though he didn't contribute directly into scoring or assisting, he helped the team moving forward, and it helped them, achieve safety. I think, and then you hear about these rumors about the positivity that Benitez is having. You bring in the combination of Almirón, technically his final transfer as a manager. You start to think, okay, maybe if things go the way it is heading into next season, that they can do something, push it up for a mid-table finish, maybe more than that, and push it for one of the European spots. That's how I assume. And then when eventually he left, and then he was replaced by Steve Bruce, I think like a lot of us, we were cynical. We were disappointed in a way because, the reputation that he has, not just as what he was as his former club at Sunderland and Sheffield Wednesday, but also in his previous stints, you would say, relegating teams, not having a positive win record in a way. It's you're skeptic, in the way that he plays football, the formation, it's even to this day, even though that Newcastle perhaps are in a better position that I thought that they were going to be in, it's still not sure what's going to happen to them because they're far from one, safety, or two, relegation. So, it's obviously a slight improvement and really has exceeded my expectations of what could have happened, but there's still a lot to improve. I mean, the way that they play, it's too ultra defensive. You don't see a lot of the attack providing. That's including Almirón in that case, but with the likes of Joelinton, with Saint-Maximin, obviously, I think one of the best things that we saw were the relevations of the Longstaff brothers. Matty, of course, the big one, and then we saw Sean last year. So it really has been. It's. I don't want to put mediocre, but it's better than I thought it would be personally. I mean, 26 points, a third of the season on left of the season, and I think for a start, you have to give benefit to Bruce in that sense to get results, to be able to get the results that they needed to win. That goes without saying, that you have to give that respect to him in that sense. But the way that they're still playing and the formation and the tactic, it's still really beyond expectations and really beyond what they should be doing if they really wanted to move forward up into the table and compete with the other teams that are much, much higher than them.
I've just got a couple more questions now. Let's have a scenario here. You are the chief scout at Newcastle United, and you've been given the tasks to scout the MLS. Obviously, with you being a big, you've got a lot of knowledge with the MLS. One player that you could bring in from the MLS to come to Newcastle and play, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It really is. I mean, I think what we've seen from MLS recently, maybe it shows that as an improvement to the league. But seeing these young South American players come in, to the team like Atlanta United with your Joseph Martinez, with your Ezequiel Barcos, PT Martinez, that kind of thing. When you go to shift to Latin American, you see with LAFC what they're doing with Carlos Vela. You see with DC United getting the likes of Edson Flores from Peru. You see many players coming from all across this region, heading to the United States and performing well. I mean, in the sense of what Newcastle really need, I mean, the defense has been iffy, if you could say. The midfield as well has provided it, but I think what Newcastle desperately need, and rightly so, is more of an attack. And I think what I would love to see, and unfortunately I don't see this happening, but I think, instead of shelling that much money for Joelinton, I personally think they should have gone for Joseph Martinez, because I think, one, you really have a proven goal scorer that's shown what he was able to do in MLS. Obviously, that connection with Almirón really would help him on the pitch as well, where they had such a wonderful connection. where they were able to understand themselves very well heading in Atlanta. I think that would be a nice move for him personally. I think that would have been really something where fans would be very excited for, and he has that personality, to not care, not give a shit, and to just do his work and that kind of thing. And I think Newcastle fans, especially those of maybe of an older generation, would love a player like that to their team.
I'll just ask you this final question again. We're going to go back to Newcastle. So, just in a few words, sum up what Newcastle as a city meant to you after visiting.
Well, I think for me, it's changed my life, my career in a way. I think it's opened many windows and avenues for me. It's also, I think more than anything, allowed me to showcase my talent across the pond in a way. And I think as well, just create a lot of connections and a lot of friends that I think have been so important to me. I mean, yeah, obviously, the way I am, the personality that I am, there's going to be always someone that is going to be, against you. And I think that goes in life as well. There's going to be people that are not going to agree with you with everything you say. And that's fine. And I'm thankful that there's only been a small minority of that, the trolls and those kind of things. But for me, I can't appreciate much more, any more than what I've been I've been absolutely grateful for what they've been doing, as the city has done for me, and what I could say is that, they're passionate for what they love. And I think for myself and what I'm doing in my career, in my craft, in football and journalism, I'm passionate for that as well. And yeah, I owe a lot to them. And I think it really changed me as a person in a way. I think it changed me as a journalist, and from a professional standpoint. They really have made me see things differently, perhaps, than what I've not been able to see beforehand. And basically, I think that's just how it's going to go for me. I think obviously, it's still early days, and I'm just getting started. 22 years old. I got a long way to see what this world might be opening for me. But in the short term, and I guess what they've done over the last year, honestly, you have to be grateful for everything that they've done, and I appreciate all the support and all the fans that have been great to me, and I hope that will continue for quite a long time.
Well, Roberto, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to call this interview here, but thank you so much for taking the time out to answer some questions, and I think we all really hope that you are coming back to St James's Park one day to cheer on Newcastle United and, of course, Miguel Almirón. Roberto, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Liam. Thank you very much.